It's 2026 and I've had to make a really difficult decision that will affect the Brisbane channel dramatically. Last year, I was really happy to have helped people right across Greater Brisbane and beyond stay up to date with events, plans and decisions that impact the way we live in this beautiful part of the world. As one person doing everything it takes to bring you these videos, it's been a real challenge, especially when, as many of you know, I've been juggling this and a PhD at the same time. I've had to make some tough decisions, but I think I'm doing what's right for me and for the people I care about. Some of you have been watching for a while and will know that early last year I made the call to put the PhD to one side to focus on building the channel and putting in the level of effort I felt it deserved. You'd also know that once the channel became somewhat stable by spring, I pulled back to focus on completing the thesis and finally submitting it. That's why there hasn't been much beyond the weekly update videos on the channel. But by the end of December, the thesis was still going, along with one other requirement I needed to check off before I could submit. It became clear to me that as long as I tried to juggle the two, the channel and the doctorate, both would suffer. And I don't like doing a lackluster job of things, so one had to go. I really loved seeing the way the channel grew in 2025 and felt it was finally becoming something unique and special. I'd partnered with some really good local businesses and their sponsorship, along with the support of people who had become channel members and those who supported the channel through Buy Me a Coffee, meant I could cover the costs of running the channel and make ends meet as well, which allowed me to focus more energy on making the Brisbane channel better. But meanwhile, the PhD was still sitting there wanting to be completed, and each of those two things were constantly competing for my mental bandwidth. Maybe I overestimated myself thinking I could do both to the standard that I set for myself. But by the end of last year, I knew it had to be one or the other, and I really needed to look at what was more important at the stage of life I'm at right now. I spent about a week weighing up the pros and cons and finally came to a decision that was really, really difficult, but the one that I think was best. I made the call to walk away from the PhD. The project I had wanted to do for the PhD is complete, and there's now a website with 3 short documentary films about the experience of people with borderline personality disorder that I tested and showed do increase awareness and cause a reduction in stigmatizing attitudes to people with BPD. So that was the important part to me. I achieved that, so my motivation to write it all up and get the formal recognition was not something that really mattered enough to me. What does matter to me is doing something positive that helps other people, paying the bills, and considering I'm about 20 years from retirement, building up my super, which is currently a pitiful amount due to far too many years studying and also teaching overseas and not putting anything into it for those 10 years or so. If I kept going with the PhD, it would have been for other people. My supervisors, my mother who was waiting to be able to tell everybody her son was a doctor, and I guess society in general. And if I'm honest, probably to not lose face by having passed all the milestones but one. But none of those things are worth continuing to have to put the videos for this channel that I'm really excited about on hold for. So this time, I'm really going all in on the channel, and I'm really excited to see what it can be when I'm putting 100% of my focus and energy into it. Of course, the weekly updates will continue, that's a given, but let me tell you about some of the videos that will be coming out along with those. Some are ones that I'm really passionate about. Others are ones I think many people will find really interesting. Some I've promised over the course of 2025 and people have been waiting for. So let me start with the ones I've already conducted some interviews or done some filming for. Obviously the housing/homelessness one and the youth crime one are waiting to be continued, but there'll be some pretty long-term ones that I wouldn't expect earlier than mid-year. I have a video that pulls back the curtain to reveal what goes on within Brisbane City Council and have already interviewed LNP, Labor, Greens and Independent councillors. So that one will likely be out in January or February. I've done some interviews for another one on hidden disabilities in Brisbane, which I aim to get out this month. Another on suburban renewal plans, but I'm still waiting to lock in an interview with Logan and Moreton Bay's mayors, as I've filmed interviews with representatives from the other LGAs already on the topic. Others I've promised that I'm committed to getting out are Brisbane Airport's master plan and the massive changes they're proposing, one on flight path noise, one on the whole Victoria Park situation. Also another quite deep dive video that I've planned on the Olympics and what past Olympics tell us we can expect for Brisbane in the lead up to, during, and maybe most importantly, after the Games. I've started connecting with people for a mini documentary on roller derby in Brisbane, and I'd also like to do some mini docos on the local music scene, street art, and some wildlife conservation efforts. Oh, and a detailed assessment of the bus network situation across Greater Brisbane. I think that's all the ones I've mentioned or promised in the past. Let me know if I've missed any that you've been waiting for. Hey, it's the editor here, once again having to make up for this guy's lack of professionalism. There's other things that he mentioned and promised to viewers of the channel that he just forgot when he recorded his talking head shots. So now I'm going to have to tell you what they are. So he did promise also that he would do a video on Moreton Bay City Council's City of Tomorrow future plans, the way that they plan to transform the city of Moreton Bay. He also forgot that he promised he'd do a video on Infinity World, which is also in Moreton Bay, and some crazy theme park, science, innovation, technology district thing that they're planning up there. He also neglected to mention that in the coming year, he's also going to be looking into adding podcasts to the content that the Brisbane channel produces. So many things that he just neglected to tell you, and so here I am doing it instead on his behalf. I really need to get paid more for this. This is ridiculous. But beyond those, others I'd like to do or feel I need to do include an update on the one about moving to Brisbane with pros and cons, as so much has changed since I made that video, but it's still getting views despite the outdated information. I'd like to do one looking at some of the suburbs that have quite a stigma, like Woodridge, to see if they live up to their reputation in 2026, or if it's more complex and nuanced than a blanket judgment. I'll definitely be doing more then and now videos. I'd like to do some videos on local artists, innovators, or notable people. Another on where to get coffee late, as well as one on what you can do between about 8 PM and 6 AM in Brisbane, apart from sleep. Maybe one on things you can do with your dog, one on the PsyQuantum project and what that means for Brisbane and the world, craft breweries, maybe one or two more in the Bun Me series, one on films shot in Brisbane, maybe comparing the scenes with how they look in real life. So many ideas, but there's also lots of things I won't know about as one person, so I'd love some suggestions from you, particularly if you know some less well known about things that people may find interesting. Let me know what you'd like to see in the comments, as one of this channel's strengths is the community of people who interact with it. Thank you for your support. You've all been so great. Well, most of you, but even the trolls keep things interesting. My commitment to you is to continue to improve the channel and offer more informative or interesting content in 2026 and beyond. See ya. And he also forgot to mention... Oh, I'm recording!
That's why Buddy's stuck in here.
Because I had to shut the doors.
I'm so sorry. Sorry, Jai.
Start that again.